Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Does anybody want to know what that mysterious stuff is that I've placed on my tracks that you've seen in some of my videos? It's actually there for a reason. I put it there to help prevent derailments. Now, when I first started running model trains on my first layout, I would put the train on the track, I'd run it around, and then it would derail and end up on its side. And I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized the pickup roller on certain rolling stock, it doesn't happen to everything. It primarily happens to me with a freight car that has a light in it, so you have a little pickup roller on the bottom, or some of the tenders on the conventional Lionel trains. The pickup rollers on those tenders or those freight cars would snag and it would get caught with the gap between the rails, where the center rail intersects with the outside rail by the switches. It would snag, get caught, pull the locomotive back, and they'd both end up derailed and just end up on their side. So I couldn't figure out how to fix this. So what I came up with was, I came across modeling clay, and I put this clay to close that gap. And then all of a sudden, the trains were no longer derailing. The pickup roller now just goes right over from the center rail, right over the clay, to the outside rail, back to the center rail, at that intersection by the switches. So now all the trains, all of a sudden, the freight cars, the tenders, would all run smoothly. That pickup roller would no longer snag in that gap. And that solved my problem on my layout using my track. Now, it would only happen with certain freight cars or certain tenders. And that was throwing me off for a while because it took me time to figure out why it was happening with only certain cars. And I guess those cars, the proximity of the pickup rollers underneath varies. And that would cause the difference on why those particular cars were derailing, where the pickup roller was snagging the rails, or the gap in between the rails on my track. Now, I know all types of track vary, but if you do have an instance where this is happening to your trains and they're derailing, all you need is a little modeling clay and just fill it in that void just like I did. And that would help that pickup roller just go right over, from the center rail and cross over the outside rail going back to the center rail on the intersecting track. And that would solve a lot of derailment issues that you might be having. Okay, I have a good example right here. We have a freight car with the pickup roller. Here's the clay that I've placed in the voids where you have the center rail right here to the outside rail. That void, when that pickup roller is coming down here, it snags right in this gap. It just grabs that outside rail of the switch and derails the car or the tender that comes through, and that derails the entire train. So by placing this modeling clay in these voids, it helps prevent that derailment. It's just regular modeling clay that you could find at any arts and crafts store such as Michael's, or you could find it online. It's firm, but it's still soft enough where you can mold it and press it in there and just smooth it out. And it doesn't harden. It stays pliable for many, 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 many years. So if you wanted to remove it, you could just scoop it right out. It's soft enough where you could do that, but firm enough when the pickup roller goes over it, it doesn't depress into the clay. So it works great. Now, there are several reasons why trains derail. For me, this was the main reason that was happening on my layouts because I'm using the same type of track. This is my third layout that I've used on my previous two also, is the same type of track. Other reasons why trains derail: if you're running your trains too fast, they can't negotiate the curve, they're just gonna jump the track. So take it easy, slow it down, run them at the proper speeds, especially going into a tight turn, and you'll be fine. That train won't jump the track. Another reason why trains derail: O-scale track is measured in diameter. So what that means is if you have O36 track, it's measured from center rail to center rail as 36 inches diameter. If you're using fast track, for example, Lionel recommends that you add 2 inches on both sides. So you need a 40-inch table for O36 diameter track. Now, what I'm getting at is when you purchase a train, look at the product description. You have to make sure of this. and it'll tell you the minimum diameter track required for this particular train. So if you buy a train that has a minimum diameter of 0.72, you'd have to have minimum diameter track 0.72 on your layout. Otherwise, that train, if you have an 0.72 train and you have 0.54 or 0.48 or 0.36 track, it won't be able to negotiate the curve and it'll jump the track. That was happening to me too for a while, and I also couldn't figure out why that was until I started realizing, that information is given in the product description, and for every train, and it varies on the length of the train. So the longer the train, the wider diameter, the greater diameter track you'd have to have on your layout. So a train that requires 0.54 diameter track, you'd have to have 0.54 diameter track on your layout as well. At least one line for that train to run on. It will not be able to run on anything less, again, such as 0.48 or 0.36. And another reason why some model trains derail is due to traction tires. When the traction tire on your train gets worn out or loose, it'll come off the wheel and cause your train to jump the tracks. So make sure you're changing or maintaining your traction tires. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.